This meeting is being recorded.
Hi, good evening, everyone. We're going to get started shortly on the meeting for the Housing and Land Chair Committee.
Hi, Eric.
Hi, Sandra, how are you?
Okay.
I don't see Barbara yet. Oh, yeah, she's there. Okay.
Yeah, Barbara's on.
Okay, Jay, when you're ready, we can, if you can put the guidelines, so we can start the meeting.
So Eric, the council members on.
Hi, good evening, Councilman.
Hey, how are you?
So good evening, everyone. My name is Eric Asensio. I'm the chair of the Housing and Land Use and Economic Development Committee. So on September 2nd, we're going to review the agenda shortly, but on September 2nd, 2021, Governor Kathy Hochul signed into law Chapter 417 of the laws of 2021, which authorizes the community board to run this meeting remotely, and minutes will be taken for record keeping. The minutes will appear on our website within days and can be recorded or can be requested from the Bronx CV7 staff at any time. If you're calling into the meeting, the controls are as follows. To hear all available commands, enter ** on your phone, *6 to mute or unmute yourself, *9 to virtual raise your hand. And we will run this meeting as follows. CV7 has a code of conduct, has the right to remove or ask a member of the public to leave a meeting or block participation of anyone who engages in inappropriate behavior, conduct, including but not limited to obscene or offensive images or language, personal attacks, threats, or any other behavior that reasonably impedes the orderly administration of the meeting. Repeated offenses will be reviewed by the board's executive committee or any other assigned committee for a ban, the amount of time to be objectively determined by the above committees of the participation in the event or repeated disruptive behavior. If in-person outbursts or attacks continue, this will be considered disturbing the peace and the authorities shall be summoned. So everyone besides the speaker or presenter will stay muted throughout the meeting. After each presentation is over, I will inquire if committee members have questions. Committee members will signify that they have a question by pressing the raise hand button on the screen or request to speak through the chat or when the chair opens the floor. Members of the public who have joined through the online link will be able to ask questions or to make a brief statement on the item after each presentation. And after the committee has had an opportunity to ask clarifying questions by pressing that raise hand button on your screen or request to speak through the chat or when the chair opens the floor. Given that today we have a very hefty agenda, I'm going to try to limit the questions to a few, maybe not more than 5 for each topic. So Jay, if you can pull up the agenda.
Can you see the agenda?
Yes, we're gonna review the previous minutes later in the meeting. Do some time constraints, and in the meantime, I'm gonna try to. Let's see if this works. Okay, it's not working right now. So I will take attendance shortly as well, but due to limited time constraints, I know that Councilmember Feliz has, but he is here joining us to talk about the fire safety legislation that he presented to the City Council and got signed into law, I believe, right, Councilman?
That's correct, yeah.
So go ahead, the floor is yours.
All right, well, thank you so much, Eric, and District Manager Aisha Bravo, and also everyone from Community Board 7. Thank you so much for having me, and also for the work that you do in the Bronx. I know the agenda is very lengthy, so I'll be super fast and concise. So as we all know, early January, we had a tragedy in the Bronx. A fire that started in Twin Parks on the 3rd floor. The fire started due to the use of space heaters, and also the fire, which could have been just another fire, converted into a tragedy because the self-closing doors in the building weren't working. The self-closing doors in the apartment and the building were not self-closing. We saw smoke fill the entire building, and as a result, we lost 17 innocent lives. 17 people lost their lives due to smoke inhalation. And that tragedy was avoidable. That could have been just, again, another fire, but it turned into a tragedy because the building was not compliant with the self-closing door laws. So I was appointed as the chair of the Fire Prevention Task Force, and we were able to pass a first round of fire safety package of legislation to help ensure that another tragedy doesn't happen again. As chair of the Fire Safety Task Force, there's 2 things that I'm focusing on. First, tackling all the causes related to fires. We saw the space heater start the fire there. We've also seen a lot of fires start due to e-bikes, or not the e-bikes, but some of the batteries, specifically the lithium-ion batteries, which aren't certified and they're not safe. So that is the first item that we're focusing on, tackling all the causes of fires, but also number 2, secondly, helping ensure that if there is a fire, that families have the proper equipment to be able to safely escape. So for example, the proper equipment in the Twin Parks tragedy would have been properly working self-closing doors, which is one of the most important fire fighting tools available to people. As Eric mentioned, last week, Mayor Adams signed a very thorough package of fire safety legislation that I and my colleagues introduced. And the package includes many items. First, on the issue of space heaters. We're prohibiting the sale of space heaters that aren't safe, or more specifically, space heaters that aren't certified and space heaters that do not have protections. So for example, there's a lot of space heaters that when they tip over, they automatically shut off. Also, when there is overheating, they also automatically shut off. And we've actually seen those safety measures in many space heaters, and also even the iron, right? You iron and if you leave it on, it automatically shuts off after a certain period. So now in the city of New York, space heaters that do not have these protections and aren't certified, they're not going to be able to be sold. It's going to be unlawful to sell in the city of New York. Space heaters are important, and we're aware that many people use them, but we want to make sure that businesses that are selling space heaters, that they're only selling space heaters that are safe to use. Space heaters is a big cause of fires, and I think that first piece of legislation is going to go a long way in stopping fires. We also passed additional legislation on the issue of self-closing doors. Again, had those self-closing doors in the building worked, we probably wouldn't have had one fatality. Not one person would have lost their life probably, because the building was fireproof. Had that self-closing door actually self-closed, the fire and the smoke would have stood in that apartment, and people in the building would have been able to safely escape because they wouldn't have been faced with elevators and hallways filled with smoke. So the self-closing door legislation that I introduced and that the mayor signed into law last week does many things. First, landlords have no more than 14 days to fix self-closing doors. If there's a self-closing door violation, landlords get 14 days to fix it. Also, after that 14-day period, there's going to be a mandatory reinspection. The city or HPD is going to go back to the building to reinspect to help make sure that that self-closing door was fixed. And that's a really important piece of the legislation. I'm a housing lawyer, and unfortunately, in many cases, landlords could literally just say, "Hey, I fixed it," without providing any real proof. And sometimes they take action to fix it, but they don't properly fix it. And in other cases, they just don't do anything, and they just literally lie to the city and say that they fixed it without any real follow-up. So now there's going to be a mandatory reinspection from the city to help ensure or help make sure that that self-closing door violation was fixed. We're making sure that self-closing door laws are being taken very seriously, and that reinspection isn't going to leave any room for error. And the third piece is if the reinspection determines that the self-closing door wasn't fixed, then HPD would make repair. They would repair the self-closing door, and they would send the bill to the landlord of the repair costs. So either the landlord fixes it within 14 days. If they don't, then the city will, and they're going to send the bill to the landlord. And last but not least, landlords that falsely state that they made self-closing door repairs, if they falsely state that they made those repairs, they're going to face hefty fines of up to $1,000 per door or per violation. And that's not including civil penalties, which could total about $250 per day per violation. So that's a summary of the legislation. And that is only the first round of fire safety legislation. There's a lot of work that we have to do. I think that package is going to help ensure that another Twin Parks tragedy doesn't happen again by regulating the use of space heaters, but also strengthening self-closing door laws and also strengthening enforcement of those laws. But we know that that is not the only cause of fires. As I mentioned earlier, e-bikes, we've seen a lot of fires started by certain specific batteries. So that should be included in the next round of legislation that we're working on.
Great, all important things that we need to take care of. There was a question in the chat if this law pertains to all buildings in New York City, not just new buildings or old buildings, right?
Yep, good question. So yeah, that applies to every single building that is under the housing maintenance code. So yes, it applies to all buildings.
And would there be, I guess, additional hiring going on for all these inspections to happen?
Yup, absolutely. So at the hearing, that is something that, HPD mentioned that, and we've seen this in almost every field. Unfortunately, we've lost a good percentage of the workforce. And the same is true for HPD. They have a budget for about 450 inspectors. Right now, they have only a little bit over half of that. So, we're working with HPD to make sure that they're hiring those inspectors. We're also working with them to make sure that their application process isn't as tough, right? Because if it takes 6 months for you to be able to finish the application and taking tests, maybe there's ways that we could fix that process so that we could hire qualified people, but at the same time, it doesn't take 6 months. By the time the 6 month comes up, the person probably has found another job already. But yeah, without the inspectors, we won't be able to properly enforce our laws. So we're working with them to make sure that they hire fast.
Great, thanks. Helene, you have a question for?
Hi, how you doing? I want to
Hey.
ask them, do that pertains to NYCHA? Because we have doors that don't even open if you need to use the exits. And even though NYCHA in 2023, we're turning over to PAC, but anything can happen before next year. So does that pertain to NYCHA be inspected? Because some of these doors don't even open. So if there was a fire and they do close their front door, but trying to go out the exit, can't go down because our doors are not opening. And some, when you come up the exit, when you come up the stairs, they're not even open. So how can, as a NYCHA resident, as a representative of NYCHA, how can we incorporate that into this? Because it's ridiculous. And that building was like a NYCHA building. Okay, because it's run by HUD. So it's the same, on the same line. So how can we fix that? How can we have someone to come in here and inspect these?
Yeah, so NYCHA has every problem that you could possibly imagine. It's just run in the worst way possible. To answer your first question, these laws do apply to NYCHA, but I think we need to do a lot to make sure that the tenants have the tools to be able to enforce whatever laws apply, whether it's the eviction laws or the repair related laws, like, repairing, the roof or the lighting system or even the self-closing doors, and any fire safety code. If a door isn't opening, I think that's probably a huge, fire safety hazard. And, we should have an inspector inspect ASAP. But yeah, NYCHA is terribly run, and we need to we're working with our mayor to, completely, change the system. Because it's just straight incompetence.
Well, how do we handle that now? Because God forbid the day of tomorrow it be a fire. Something tragic is going to happen. And all I hear is talk about, oh, well, NYCHA is the worst landlord. I get that. We already know what NYCHA is about. We already know they need a lot of repairs, but that still doesn't keep us safe in this building if there was a fire trying to open the door to get out. You understand? That's still, by it being them, we know they're the worst landlord and we know NYCHA needs a lot of repairs, but that still don't help us if there's a fire and we can't open that door. It will be the same situation as over there. If we can't get out that door or we coming through the exit and the door can't open. I hear you and I get what you're saying, but you're saying that NYCHA needs a lot of repairs and we know that, but how can you guys incorporate this where something can happen now? It could be done now because Pat, we don't turn over to 2023 and anything's possible in NYCHA buildings, you know that. So how can this be enforced now? We don't have time to wait because anything can happen.
Yeah, so there's a few things, and absolutely, there's a few things that have to be done. First, call 311 and you could also bring a case against the landlord, but you should also contact your elected officials so they could reach out directly to the NYCHA so that they could take steps. So those would be two big steps that you could take. 311, also bring a case in housing court, which would be free of charge, but also reach out to your elected officials so they could reach out directly to NYCHA.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, and I'm gonna post my office information right here.
Thank you, Haley. Anybody else from the committee have questions for the council member?
Hello, can you guys hear me?
I'm sorry, Karina, we're taking questions from the committee first.
Okay, not a problem.
Okay, Ted, is there anything you want to add?
Eric, I just want to thank the council member for this legislation as an owner manager for 40 some years. I think this is excellent. We always, since that fire, I will say that every owner manager I know has made an extra effort for the super reporters, everyone to go around checking doors to make sure, because sometimes the springs do break, and to check for self-closing doors and other fire safety measures. But I do thank you for this very thoughtful and very, very excellent legislation.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. Ted, is there anything you want to add on behalf of HPD?
No, it's not, it's not my part of HPD, but obviously, you know, anything that helps avoid tragedies in the future is worthwhile.
Thank you, Ted. Any member of the public have a question for the councilman in relation to the fire law legislation? Jean?
Hi, I did have a question in the chat about compactor rooms having sprinkler system, which thank you, Sandra, for answering the question for me. But if we find that they don't have a sprinkler system, because we had a bad fire in the building where I live, and fortunately we have terraces, so a lot of people might have died otherwise. The fire came up through the compactor room, and the smoke was so intense that the only place you could get any kind of life-saving technique was to run to the terraces. So how do we back up and make sure that, and this is a city HPD building, how do we make sure that those sprinkler systems, which they are supposed to have, and I don't know if they do, are in effect? And if they're not in effect, what's our next step?
Yeah, yeah, really good question. Those sprinklers are another really important tool. You know, smoke alarms are important because they notify people that there's a fire. They could wake up if they're sleeping and they could quickly escape. Self-closing doors are also another tool, right? Making sure that the smoke doesn't spread and people could escape. Sprinkler systems are also another really important firefighting tool. So we're actually working on legislation that would require more yearly inspections of our sprinkler systems, because if a building does have sprinkler systems, they should be working. So we're working on legislation on the sprinkler system, and also the e-bike batteries and a lot more.
Thanks
Okay,
for that.
Yep.
any other questions in regards to the fire legislation? Okay, so hearing none, thank you so much for the presentation, Councilmember Feliz. I know that this is our last meeting of the year, so we thought the ending with good news about the fires that have been happening in the Bronx will be a good closure to our yearly meetings. And thank you for getting this done for the city.
Yep, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you all for having me, and thank you also for all of the good work that you do in the Community Board 7 area of the Bronx. We all appreciate it, and we're all grateful for your service. And you know, my office information is in the chat, so if anyone has any other questions, feel free to either visit my office, call, or send me an email. Thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we're gonna move on with our agenda, but in the first, we're gonna go ahead and do our attendance. Eric Asensio, I'm here. Myrna Calderon,
Present.
Sandra Erickson,
Sandra Erickson is present.
Mabugo Jewel,
Mabubu Joel is present.
Edgar Ramos,
Edgar Ramos, present.
Helene Reed,
It's Helene Red, R-E-D.
Helene Red,
Yeah,
Present.
double D.
Double D, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, double D, take off one E.
There you go.
Yeah.
And Barbara Stranson.
Barbara Stronzer is present.
Thank you,
Myrna's
Barbara.
present too. I don't know if something's wrong with the
Yeah, there's
screen.
with my screen, but I
Oh,
marked it.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's told me, yeah. Oh, now I see, yes. Okay.
Yes. I got it. So did everyone get a chance to review the minutes from last month?
Yes, we did.
Great. Can we get an approval?
I
A
would,
motion.
Sandra Erickson makes a motion to approve the minutes from our previous meeting.
I second it.
Thank you, Barbara. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. So we'll move on with present. I believe the next on the chat is on the agenda is a presentation from Douglas Tan about they're gonna be providing us with an update of the project on Webster and Bedford Park Boulevard, which is a two-phase project. Phase one is currently under construction, which is the senior building. And phase two will be another building that will occupy the corner. So Joe, if you want to take over.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having us here tonight. My name is Joel Kolkman. I am with Douglas in Development. I'm here with my colleagues, Russell Lang and Rhea Tong. And together we've been working on this two-phase project for a while. I have a few slides to share, so I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. All right, can everyone see that?
Yes.
Perfect, great. So we came before your committee right before COVID started. So it was, I believe, February 2020, talking about our predominantly our first phase of this project, seeking approval for a fresh certification authorization. Again, this is for the ground floor grocery store, and it allows for us to increase the approvals allowed us to increase the building height from 11 to 12 stories. You know, COVID happened. We thought we were going to start construction much sooner. We started later. So I have some timelines and things but I just want to remind everyone of when we were here last. And we're excited to give you this update on where this project is. So just to kind of give everyone a reminder here, let me zoom out a little bit. There we go. So as Eric said, I mean, this is a two-phase project at the corner of Webster Avenue and Bedford Park Boulevard. It will include mixed income, affordable housing, including affordable senior housing, which was the crux of the first phase. The design and the proposal overall being a mixed use with ground floor retail and residential units above helps to achieve the vision realized by the 2011 Webster Avenue rezoning. We're working with Fordham Bedford Community Services on providing social services for the senior units and also for the future affordable family units. And I think one thing that's great about this is you all know that this site is currently occupied by the Cherry Valley Marketplace grocery store, and our entire ground floor retail program is giving them a brand new grocery store space, and it's starting with the first phase. So for those of you who are a little less familiar with the site, or just to refresh everyone, in the bottom right, you could see here a little key plan. So again, at the corner of Webster Avenue and Bedford Park Boulevard is the entire development site outlined in red. Those black outlines delineate the phase 1 and phase 2 boundaries. Starting from the top left, we have Webster Avenue looking southwest. And so you could see there the Cherry Valley Marketplace, the existing store that is operating. And you can just see a little beyond that, the construction of the first phase. Moving to the right, you have Webster Avenue looking west. So this is on the other side of the street with that, again, mixed use character. And then we have a photo from the other side of that corner, Webster Avenue looking southwest, which is the parking garage constructed by New York Town Gardens a few years back. So an overview and summary of our Webster Avenue senior residences. This is a 188 unit affordable senior housing project. It includes 151 studios, 36 one-bedrooms, and 1 2-bedroom superintendent's unit. The income eligibility for this project is any senior earning up to 50% of AMI. And for this project, that age cutoff is 62 years and above. And again, the idea is that these units are targeted for folks who are on Social Security and fixed incomes. Looking at the 2020 or the current AMIs, we have for a single person that would be $46,700. For a couple, that would be $53,400. The building itself is 12 stories, 124 feet. And within the building, again, I mentioned we have this partnership with Fordham Bedford Community Services. What's really great is they have their project Servium Gardens just a few blocks away, which is a senior housing project. And they're going to basically be bringing over all the wonderful work they do there and doing the same here. So we have about 3,200 square feet of social service space. The building has a laundry room, bike parking. There's passive outdoor recreation, both on the roof and at a second floor terrace. And there's a partial green roof as well. And then most importantly here, we have the inclusion of the fresh grocery store, which was what you had all approved back in 2020. The big plan for the grocery store, the current footprint of the existing store is about 20,000 square feet. This phase will accommodate just under 13,000 square feet, and the future phase will expand the grocery store an additional 8,000 square feet to create the exact square footage, or slightly more even, than is in the current footprint of the store. But what's going to be really great is that because of the way we stage this project, there will never be a period where we'll have continuous grocery store operations. So when this building is constructed, the grocery store fit out is complete, then we begin the second phase. But we're doing that so we have that grocery store use in operation consistently. So project timeline here. Again, so we got the fresh approval. We came to you all in February of 2020, and we received the approval from City Planning Commission in March of 2020. We began construction in December of that same year, and have been doing work ever since. We are about to top out, so that means we're hitting the 12th floor of construction, and then we'll be fully enclosed and doing all the interior work and finishing up the facade. Looking ahead, our housing lottery, we anticipate that to be launching this fall, because we will be ready to have our first move-ins in March of 2023. That will be at the same time that the new grocery store opens. And once we have everyone moved in, which will be take place over the course of 6 months, we'll have 100% occupancy in 2023. So again, we're really here to talk predominantly about the first phase of the project, but we have just a quick timeline for our second phase, because I know there's probably good interest in that. We are working on the the plans and finalizing things so we could be ready to share more with everyone. And the idea is that we do a kind of fresh pre-referral, so like formal process presentation in the fourth quarter of 2022, with the official process with the City Planning Commission starting in the first quarter of 2023, with the approval from the City Planning Commission shortly thereafter. Happy to take any questions. And I know Russell is on the line to speak about anything specific to phase 2 as well.
So how many units are we anticipating in phase 2? Or we're not there yet?
Russell, you want to take that?
Yeah, sure. Hey, everyone. It's Russell from Douglaston. Thanks all for having us here. We're very excited to really dig down in the details, more like we were talking about later on this year. But right now we're targeting approximately a little less than 280 units. Right now, I think we're about at 279.
Okay, thanks, Russell. Okay,
I think, and I think one thing to add to Joel's comments is that the lease is signed for the second phase with the grocer, so we are all set with him. So that is done and concluded. So we've agreed to the rent and the period and all the other legal terms.
Great. So that means that Cherry Valley will stay there for a while.
They have a 40-year lease.
Great, that's good to hear. Helene, you had a question?
Yes, can we go back to the income eligibility screen, please?
Sure.
Okay. I see two figures, right? I see 46,700 for a single and 53,400 for a couple.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I have a two-part question.
Mhm.
46,000. This is okay. Let me say this. This is a senior building? All of it is seniors?
100%. Yes. All units are for seniors.
How much of it? Okay. How much of it you're taking in consideration with the seniors that get disability, SSI, SSD, something from their husbands that are veterans that passed away? Because $46,700, that sounds like a lot for eligibility, in the Bronx.
Mm-hmm.
To start for one single person. Now the senior might be by themselves, and you're going to consider $46,700 for one person. Is this affordable? Is this affordable housing we're talking? Because when it comes to affordable housing now, because $46,700 sound a lot for a senior building for senior citizens. That's a lot of income.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you're saying that you're taking, how many people that's on SSI or SSD or whatever are you will be accompanying it, will be moving into this development?
Mm-hmm.
Because that sounds like an awful lot for seniors.
Yeah. So just to clarify, so this is for this is the maximum, and so the way that this project and the financing works is that there's an affordable housing lottery, and so you submit to the lottery, and if you get picked for the lottery and you have income eligibility, then you could proceed. But these are these are maximum. So there could be folks that are earning really anything from $1 to these maximum limits that could be eligible. And that's in terms of what they pay, anyone, no matter what their income is, because of the financing, they will always pay no more than 30% of their income for rent. And that's consistent with all affordable housing. But the unique aspect with this project is that you have that range of basically, again, someone could earn effectively no money and up to these maximums. And I think to your initial point on, if folks are receiving other, money from other subsidies, I don't want to misspeak. So we can get back to you, and I could maybe get back to Eric and provide a little more information on this.
I'm just looking at the income eligibility, because you saying this is a senior building, but you're saying $46,700 a year. But now you're saying, oh, anybody can. So if a person have an income of $650, say one of these seniors only get $700 a month, or $550 or $600, you put them in the lottery, it comes up, right? They come up to the apartment, they show you their income. Well, listen, this is all I get a month. But you're saying, it's like you're saying two different things. This is $46,700 a month to start. So
That's the maximum. That's the maximum income that they can make.
The maximum.
That's the maximum. Yeah, I'm sorry if that wasn't clear. So I put up to, but yes, it should be, everyone knows it's 0 up to this maximum. So to your example, if somebody was making that $700, they would be eligible for these units.
Okay, because I'm like 46,700 for seniors. That sounds like a awful lot. And what senior making that much money, have that much income, I mean, they do, but that's a lot to be in actually in that part in the Bronx, in the part that you guys are putting in it. That's a lot of money. That's just my opinion. That's a lot to add.
And again, that's because it's the maximum, and you have this range of anyone making, let's use your example of $700 to this maximum, and anybody, no matter what their income is, they pay 30% of their income, just like they would in any other affordable housing project here.
I have one more quick question. The security. What are you guys doing for security for these seniors? Because the Bronx been crazy lately, all the murders, or the shooting, or the robbery. What are you guys gonna do for these seniors that moves in the building? That's security, for security.
We do have security. It will be part-time security. So as currently contemplated, I believe it's about 7 hours a day. And that's the idea that we have for right now. But we currently do not have planned 24-hour security.
Okay. Wow.
Okay. Erica?
Yes, good afternoon, good evening. Was there ever any numbers shared as to how many local hires you actually used in the building of the first of that first building?
Well, it's still happening, because we're still just really in the middle of our construction period here. So what we could do, and I'm happy to share this with Eric, again, we could provide the numbers for local hiring that we have to date.
Right.
And I think just some other facts here is that because this was financed with both the city and the state, there were requirements for participation from women-owned firms, minority-owned firms, which are state and city programs that encourage those hires. And yeah, so we could share a bunch of labor statistics that we have available.
And I'm assuming you guys never reached out to the building trades in reference to hiring people from there either, right?
I would have to, again, kind of speak with our general contractor about that, but I could follow up with Eric, who could disseminate that information.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Barbara?
Good evening. Who will be responsible for the renting, Douglaston or Fordham Bedford?
Fordham Bedford. So we're really excited to have Fordham Bedford Community Services be our marketing and leasing agent for this project. They've done it for their own projects, and they've had great success. So, and of course, we'll be working with them hand in hand, but they are lead.
Okay, because I live in the immediate area, and I'm asked all the time, who should they contact, whatever. So I will tell them to contact Fordham Bedford.
Yes, and once we are closer to starting the housing lottery, we'll make sure that information is sent to this board well in advance, as soon as we have it available. So folks know that the lottery will be coming and folks can start to get the word out.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you, Barbara. Karina, you have a question?
Yeah, I just had a question. So I didn't come on for this, but this has actually been helpful. So my mother, she's a senior. She has applied for senior housing. Obviously, it's a lottery. I understand that. And it's a very long waiting list, which I can imagine. So she's actually gone to the point, she lives with me, but she's ready to have her own place. And she's also ready to get out of the neighborhood, which is, we're on Briggs, which is, again, not what we're going to focus on tonight, but if anybody knows the Bronx, Briggs is literally the heroin capital of the world. So that's where we're at, right? She wants to get out of here, right? And I respect that. So my question is that if, so at this point now she's looking into getting a condo, right? She wants to get her savings just to get out, and there'll be the smallest condo. She could put a down payment, 5%, whatever. But if she owns this condo, which she wants to pursue because she's that desperate and senior housing isn't calling her, if she's still on the lottery or the waiting list and they call her, would that affect her eligibility to accept the senior housing, like, 1 bedroom or studio if they were to call her? Because I mean, she could probably rapidly sell the condo because it's in good condition, but would that affect her eligibility if she owns property?
There are asset asset limitations. So yes, I think it would, because the asset limitations are relatively low, but I don't know them. I don't know the exact number, but I assume she owns
So
something.
it would affect her like owning the property.
Yes.
Because and then that's when she's in this catch-22, because renting is insane, right? Renting could be easily 2,000 for a 1 bedroom, and she doesn't have that much income. She has saved up income, but even getting a very low, low cost income, low cost condos, she can have monthly payments as low as 16, which is still high. She's trying to share it with my aunt, who's also a senior. And then senior housing, there's not enough for the amount of seniors that need it. Like, I just feel like, so she's just stuck. It's just kind of like, does she stay in this really bad and dangerous neighborhood for the rest of her life? Or like, does she try to do something and then gamble if they call her? I just didn't know in which direction to guide her. So if I'm guessing,
Karina, this is Eric. I'm on the board, the committee. If you'd like to call me, perhaps help advise you or point you and mom in the right direction.
I would appreciate that. Can you put your number or your email in the
Sure.
chat?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. Thank you, Karina. There was a question, Joe. Is this going to be through New York City Housing Connect?
It will be, yes.
Okay. And also, is there going to be allowance for daughters or grandkids to visit, and can they stay there with the seniors?
Well, of course, folks can visit. And if it's like an overnight thing, that's obviously fine. But obviously, if it's additional folks living in the unit, that would obviously raise issues. But visitation, of course, will be allowed.
Okay, there's also questions about pets. Have gotten that far.
Yeah, that's probably, I think pets will be allowed. I know there will be a weight limitation. And if there's interest in knowing what that weight limitation is, I could follow up with you with the other items, Eric.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for Douglas?
Eric, I had a question. I had sent it in early. I just wondered how Douglason is handling the increased costs of insurance, materials, labor. Has it affected the timeline for the project or any other blocks you're running into, Russell or Joe?
Yeah, well, Sandra, I want to I'm knocking on wood because as of, in terms of we've been able to, we bought a lot of the trades out, earlier on before a lot of the supply chain issues took place. And in terms of getting materials and appliances and fixtures and all of that to the site, we've been very proactive in getting them as early as possible. So far we are in a good position. But I think, that there's been a lot of advanced planning to make that happen.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Joe. So we'll look forward to your presentation of phase 2 in the end of the quarter of the year, hopefully. One of the things that the board has been discussing here also has been for new buildings to sign up for the compost collection. If you guys can do that, that will help the neighborhood a lot, because we've been trying to get it going again since it stopped during COVID. So we would like to ask that as a request.
Okay. Yeah, well, I will speak with our property management company about that for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for your time. We really appreciate it. Of
Thank you so much for coming on.
course.
Yeah, thanks.
Bye, all.
So moving on with the agenda, we have a presentation now, another update of another building in construction in our neighborhood from Catholic Homes.
Yeah, hello. Good evening. My name is Susan Albrecht. I'm with Catholic Homes New York, which is the Affordable Housing Office of Catholic Charities. We made a full presentation to this committee and the community board in May and June of 2020. And this is regarding St. Philip Neri Apartments. We started construction in July 2020, and the project is now at 65% completion, with opening scheduled for occupancy in March. Tonight, we wanted to give you an update on the project, as well as information on the marketing process, which is scheduled to start in July. I am joined by my colleagues, Johanna Kletter, Drew Kyriazides, and Richard Espinal from Catholic Charities. I did see that Father Serrano was on earlier from St. Philip Neri Church, and we're also joined by the staff of Fordham Bedford, which will also be managing the project for us. Before I begin, I wanted to see, is Father Serrano on, Drew?
Maybe he's in the waiting room. Is that
Yeah,
possible?
I know he wanted to just say
He's
a few
on,
words
he's
to
there.
the
Okay.
He's here.
Oh,
He's
okay.
I see him.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Father Serrano to say a few words, and then I'm going to turn the presentation over to my colleague Drew Kyriazides, who will introduce Fordham Bedford and walk us through the PowerPoint presentation. So Father, do you want to say a few words before we get started? Oh, there you are. You have to unmute. Yeah, there you go.
Yes. No, I know this is an update for the meeting. And one of the things I would like to say is that this is about, the neighborhood and helping them as much, to continue to find ways to live in a decent way as they work so hard. And so it's great that everybody, is just like in a baseball game, just trying to do their part. No? So the only thing that I want to ask is that it's called St. Philip Neri Apartments or something like that. So because I have not just parishioners that I told, this is not the building doesn't belong to the church, but also some in the neighborhood who are not parishioners. They told me, Father, can you help me to get an apartment there? And I said, no, I don't have nothing to do with the buildings, no. Although the name is there, but that's because also I think that block in the villa, I think has also the name Philip Neri. I think they changed, no. But that's the only thing. And I wish I can see the buildings once they're being finished and helping parishioners to at least apply. But I have just only 2 weeks left. I have been reassigned to another church, another neighborhood, and so So I will keep in my prayers and keep this project, not only the ones here in Villa, but so many buildings that are also housing, because that's something, that will be transform Bronx. And Bronx is unique because it's a family oriented. That's unique of the Bronx. And so I will pray wherever I'm going to be, So that's the only thing I want to say.
Thank you very much, Father. We're definitely going to invite you to the opening. And you've been so gracious and helpful. Thank you. So I know Drew wanted to share our screen. And do you want to say a few words, Drew?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Thank you for allowing us to present tonight. My name is Drew Kyriazidis, and I'm the Associate Housing Director of Catholic Homes New York. You can all see the PowerPoint at this point?
Yes.
Yeah. So this is a bird's eye view of illustration of the two buildings on Villa Avenue, right across. One is right next to the back of St. Philip Neri Church, and one is right across the street from that back. It used to be a parking lot. Susan, do you want to?
Yeah, just in terms of our team, again, we made the presentation 2 years ago. So we are the developer, Catholic Homes New York. Think Architects designed it. Galaxy General Contracting is the builder. Ford and Bedford is, again, as we mentioned, is going to be the management company. We had a financial consultant with Rockabill, and then there will be on-site social services provided through Catholic Charities Beacon of Hope.
So in general, St. Philip Neri, as I mentioned, is two separate buildings. They're combined 186 units of low income and special needs housing. The address of one building is 3069 Villa, 12-story building. If you guys have driven by Villa Avenue, right across the street, a 14-story building with 101 units. It's the buildings, as you'll see in a couple of slides, are topped out. The whole they're up to the top right now. The target population of the low income units are between 40% AMI and 70% AMI, and we'll go over the incomes in a few slides down. And then there are half the building are special needs. And that's through Empire State Supportive Housing, which is a New York State housing initiative that provides rental subsidies to those tenants. And we have a social service provider, which is related to the Catholic Charities. It's called Beacon of Hope, and they're providing us social services. And the services include full-time staff, as well as 24-hour security, and we also have security cameras. So we really are trying to be sensitive to that. The timeline, we started construction a couple of years ago, and we're almost at the finishing line. We're here in part because we wanted to tell you about the marketing, because that's going to begin very soon, just over a month from now, and so that we can provide you the flyers and information about how community residents can apply. And it's looking like that we're going to have a 60-day period where people apply, and that it would end sometime in September, the middle of September, and then soon after that, about 4 or 5 months after that, construction will be completed. Here, just some quick kind of like progress photos. This is 3054, as you see on the left. Inside where we're putting up that purple wall is sheetrock. And then on the far right is an interior of an apartment. We're just framing out before we put the sheetrock. 3069 across the street, just a little further along. As you can see in the image on the left is actually sheetrock is up, and we prime the walls. And so that's a little further along. And then I'm going to pass this on to our team at Fordham Bedford. Sam, are you there?
Hi, this is Gerard Walber from Fordham Bedford Housing. The lease up of, as Drew mentioned, will start, we're hoping in the mid-July. It will be done online applications through our website, through the state. You can also get a connection to the state website. And we'll also have a paper option for people in the community or anywhere. And we'll add those applications as we're collecting the online applications. We'll be adding those in. So we hope by September 15th, when the lottery closes on the online applications, we'll give an extra 10 to 15 days for the remaining paper applications to come through. And to make, we'll accept the ones that are postmarked up till September 15th. At which time we'll do an electronic randomization. That's the lottery itself with the applications, and we'll have a completed log. And we hope to interview people by mid-September. The beginning of October, and interview throughout October, November, December, January, and start hopefully moving people in either February or March of 2023. 50% of the 92 apartments that are not special needs that are being marketed to the regular, to general population will be community board members, or community board residents, I should say. And that would be 46 units. And there are set aside, there are apartments for mobility impaired and hearing and visual as well. There will be one full-time super and 3 full-time porters.
Right.
And
Thanks, Gerard. So just for clarification, it's 93 units that are going to be, or 92 units that are going to be available for families. And we'll walk through some more steps on that lottery in a little bit.
Sure. Here's just a list of amenities that the both buildings will have. That I mentioned, 24-hour security, superintendent, one of the buildings that oversees both buildings, laundry room, bike room, where we're promoting a smoke-free building. And both buildings have community room for tenants, and one of the buildings will be for kids, for after-school programs and summer programs. Here, the next few slides I'm going to show just typical apartments and the square footages. These are not all of them, but this is kind of the standard size of our apartments. The one bedroom here, it's 501 square feet. The bottom left is a living room, bottom right is a bedroom, and kitchen and bathrooms up top. The typical 2 bedrooms, this one here is about 740 square feet. And our 3 bedroom, about 800, almost 900 square feet. We think that, hopefully that's a healthy size. We try to go a little higher than what the standard is. I think, Gerard, you covered this a little bit, right? And you're talking about the marketing, community outreach.
Right.
Yeah.
We will have community out. We are doing community outreach now. We will be doing a mailing of the ad out to the community board and community groups in Community Board 7, as well as throughout the Bronx. We'll be marketing in the newspapers and online through Facebook and Google as well. Yeah. So we hope to get a good response from the community board as well as throughout the rest of the Bronx.
And we'll hopefully hold a in-person information session. If Father Serrano would allow us, we'd happily have it at St. Philip Neri, but wherever it is, we will notify the community board. So if people want, having more, they need more details about how to fill out an application, we will provide that time during that time. Here, I'm showing the range of apartments and incomes. They're basically five categories of apartments. We have 1 bedrooms with a rent of 725, 925, 1125. And those is a range of income. As you can see in the chart, the $725 a month is for a range starting at 26 and going up to 42, depending on the size of the household. And that goes for the two other income ranges in the one bedroom units. And then you have a two bedroom, we have quite a few two bedroom units, and that is for, that's at $1,600 a month, a little higher income, starting at 58,000, going up to 66, starting at 66, but going up to 90. And this is for, it could be, it's for families, not individual is not allowed in a two bedroom. So it's a 2, 3, or 4 person. So combined income are starting at 58. And the last category are 3 bedroom apartments that rent of $1,843. Starting again, this is also for family, so 3 persons up to 7 persons. That's kind of a standard agency, government agency sizes for 3 bedrooms, and the minimum is 67,000 combined, and up to 103.
Thanks, Drew. So I know a question popped up. Is this only for Catholics? No, it's really open for anyone who's income eligible. And we want to really encourage the board, the residents of the community board to apply, because the odds are really good, with 50%, 46 of those units, as Gerard mentioned, from the community board. So.
And Susan, do you want me to pull up the ad, the full ad, just so people?
Yeah. So,
can...
and this is a draft that we're going to be issuing in mid-July. So we're going to be putting this into paper. We'll have paper copies of this. And again, the website with the application is in the middle of it, right? It's a little hard to read. I don't know if you can make it a little bit bigger.
On the website. Okay. Yeah. And you see on the far left, this is the chart that I just went over before. But if we zoom in, we provide a link to a website where you can apply online, but also you can do it the old-fashioned way, which I used to do, is just request an application, and it gets through a postcard or letter, and then Ford and Bedford will mail to you the application.
And you do not need to be Catholic to apply. It's really just income. I know that question popped up again in the chat. So
yeah, it's government. This is a government-funded project. So just like any other, because it's not, you're very familiar with Housing Lottery, Housing Connect, right? Which is HPD housing. The state has a very different system, but of lotteries and marketing, but it's the same kind of eligibility. It's for general public, and as you see, priority to community board. And it's just and so when the time comes, we'd like to you tell us it's best way of doing this is to drop off a bunch of flyers, or if you bet you're more like do it online through a link or something.
So another good question just popped up. Are there fees for the amenities? No, they're not. However, you have to pay for the laundry, obviously. So that concludes our presentation. As I said, we're going to be contacting the community board once we get the flyer out, and it's all about when the construction is complete. We don't want to mark it too early because we have to get all the income verification and so forth. But and there is no exercise room. There's some community rooms, but there is no exercise room.
Yeah. So if the chair, if there are any questions, please.
Sure. We're gonna start with Edgar.
Yeah, good evening. Just a quick question. Did you guys look to do any local hiring while you guys were working in that neighborhood? Because I know the unemployment rate up there is pretty bad. If so, could you provide us with those numbers?
Yeah, we'll have to get back to you on that. We did all the contractors that we work with, we encourage walk-ins and referrals on. So we'll have to get back to you with the exact number.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Sandra.
Thank you, Eric. And along with that, the MWBE participation, I know if you could add that in too, in your reply to the board.
Sure.
I just want
Yeah.
Villa Avenue, I manage a building very close to there, being such a narrow street. How has that been navigating that? Have you had to close the road a lot? It's been a little bit headache, but it'll be over soon, I'm sure.
Yeah, it definitely has its challenges. But we work with some of the the people on the block as well as just the school on the block about that. But yeah, was challenging.
Now that they're all topped off, you probably won't be closing it as much, right? Because it's
Yeah.
all, it's all closed now.
That's right.
I like that. The Villa Avenue Feast. Okay.
Barbara?
Good evening. Getting back to the security, you said 24 hours a day. Will it be 7 days a week? And are you speaking in terms of hiring a security guard, or will it be cameras?
Susan, do you want to?
Oh, you can. Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
So these are people. There'll be people 24 hours, 7 days a week. And it's how you hired security guards.
And there'll be one in each of the two buildings?
That's right.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
So the special needs housing is split up between the two buildings?
Yeah,
That's right.
That's right.
They're right. So both buildings have both a range of incomes as well as special needs.
And special needs is the same as supportive housing?
That's right.
Yeah, if I recall correctly, there's services for the supportive housing in each building, right?
There's quite a bit of staff. So in addition to that 24/7, there's something around like 18 altogether, like 18 staff people among the two buildings, case managers. There's offices in both buildings. So each building operates on its own, even though that they're integrated. It's the same organization that runs them, but each one will have its own security, have its own offices and community rooms and laundry room that the social service staff will operate at each building.
Okay, great, thank you. Any other questions?
Eric, I see one about are both buildings fully sprinklered? I know that question is yes. That answer is yes, rather, so.
Yeah, all new buildings. Thank goodness, right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, so if you guys could share the additional information about the local hires, that would be great.
Okay.
That would be something for the board, to kind of keep track of, like, more data for us.
Okay.
And as I mentioned in the other presentation, once you get to the point, if you guys would join all New York City composting and all that to help bring that back to the neighborhood, because a lot of people in the neighborhood have been asking for that. That would be great.
And then I just had a quick question. Gerard probably knows this from Fort and Bedford, but when the time comes when we have the ad, is it something you'd be open if we left flyers at your office, or is it more it's not so much foot traffic?
Put it on your website or? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Just send it over to Jade or Aisha, and they will post. Usually do an email blast. So as soon as you have it, we'll distribute it.
Okay. Well, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Finally, I just wanted to say thank you again to Father Serrano for his leadership and help with getting this project going. And we also want to thank the board for all of your commitment and your volunteer service.
Thank you. And yes,
Okay.
thank you, Father Serrano, for the service you've done for the community as well.
Eric, I just see Jean asked if the board can be offered an opportunity to see the finished product. Can we be invited in to? take a look at your ribbon cutting or whatever.
Oh, yeah,
you-
definitely, definitely. We love to have ribbon cutting, and we'll definitely invite the community board.
Or,
Thank
yeah,
you.
exactly.
Okay, with that one, thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
And
Okay.
so
Have a good
coming up,
night.
good night. We have a
Okay.
presentation from the Department of Sanitation. I believe Stephen is on.
Yes, I am.
Hi, Stephen. How are you?
Good evening, everyone.
So this is another law that has come into effect for buildings in New York City in regards to waste management. You can take it away, Steve.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having me join. I think this is the first time that I've actually had a meeting with this committee. I'm always with Betty RC and her group. So in any case, it's a pleasure to meet everyone. So I do have some information to share. A new law just went into effect on April 1st. This law requires all new construction, any building with 150 more units, that's going to be new construction or doing any type of substantial renovations, to submit a waste management plan. So why did this law go into effect? Well, the goal is to reduce the amount of trash which is set out on the curb. As we all know, it's unsightly. It attracts rats and rodents. It can negatively impact pedestrian flow and ultimately affects quality of life. So with that, any drawings or plans that were already submitted to the DOB, they had 60 days from April 1st to submit their waste management plan. So we've passed those 60 days. At this point, the plan should have already been submitted. Moving forward, any new construction plans should be submitted for their waste management when they submit drawings to the DOB. So we are more than happy to assist anyone that has any questions, any developers that need some clarity. We have a waste calculator to assist with some of the calculations. We are offering consultations, and we are also offering zero waste trainings to building managers as well. Just so you guys have an idea what the plan is supposed to include. And let me just pull this up so I don't miss anything. The plan should include an estimated amount of trash, recyclables, and compostable material that'll be created when operating at full capacity. Of course, we need the number of dwelling units, a storage plan to ensure sanitary conditions for 150% of expected waste between scheduled collections, a plan to keep recycling and composting separate from trash, how and where the material will be set out for DSMY collection, an education plan for tenants, including signage placement, and compliance with applicable DOB and New York City building code. So those are the main talking points. It's absolutely a step in the right direction. As we all know, whenever a new building goes up, a lot of times we end up with a mountain of trash on the sidewalk. And this is just going to help us to ensure that the waste is managed properly, because the Department of Sanitation, we don't manage on-site waste, right? We just go and pick it up. So if it's not being managed correctly or properly, ultimately the residents in the area are going to be the ones to suffer. So again, this is definitely a step in the right direction. And if anyone needs any guidance, more than happy to point you in the right direction and get you to the people that can answer any specific questions that you may have.
So the plans are submitted to the Department of Sanitation at the same time they're submitted to the Department of Buildings. Is that the process?
Yep.
And is there any specific information in the Department of Building drawings that will need to be added or for approval?
Not to my knowledge. From my understanding, it's going to be whatever the Department of Buildings requires is submitted to them, and then we just receive the waste management plan separately.
Okay, so the Department of Buildings might actually have an objection to not approve this building until you guys approve the waste management plan.
Correct, correct.
Sandra, you have a question?
Oh, no, I don't. I was answering Jean. Sorry.
Okay,
And down, sorry.
Karina, you have a question?
Yes, I have a question. Maybe it's related or maybe it's not, but is there any sanitation guidelines when it comes to like someone's private property and in their backyard particularly? Because the thing is, it seems like there's a house right next door to me that has over 6 feet up from the ground up and maybe, I don't know, 20, 30 feet across the yard of garbage, like legitimate garbage. And now it's been bringing a lot of raccoons and pests, like you mentioned, into my side. So I called sanitation, but they said that their only concern basically was the sidewalk and the curbside. Now, what would that do if it's now affecting my home? Because all the clutter is causing pests to now trickle over onto my side of the yard. I mean, even if that's not particularly what this law is covering, is there any guidance on who I can help with sanitation? With 311, they already closed this case that I made. I already called in. They came, saw the front of the house, and then they closed it. But it's not the front of the house. It's a yard and it's the alleyway, and it is loaded with garbage. Like, I don't know if you guys ever seen like an episode of Hoarders. It looks like that.
Help you there, the Department of Health. They
Correct.
oversee those trash and potential rodent conditions. They'll get right on it. Believe me, just give them a call.
Department of Health. I gotta call 311 again and just speak to that department.
But they're pretty aggressive on that. So yes, I guess you can call 311 and ask their advice, but it is the Department of Health.
Okay, thank you.
Sure, anytime.
Stephen, there was a question, what about older buildings?
So older buildings are not going to be required unless if they are doing some type of substantial renovation. At that point, they would be required to submit a plan, but otherwise, no.
Okay. And so this is just basically to help you monitor that garbage collection a little better, right?
So we just want to make sure that no one is storing garbage at the curb in between pickups. Because we do find that does happen with a lot of older buildings. They weren't designed for the amount of trash that's being produced. So what happens is if they don't have a garbage storage area inside of the building, they just use the sidewalk as storage in between pickups, which they're not allowed to do and creates all types of other issues. So moving forward, we want to try and eliminate that from happening.
Okay, great, thanks. Any other question for Stephen? Okay, well, Stephen, so we're trying to get this compost pickups going again in our neighborhood, in our district. We know we have spoken to you several times in the sanitation committee about it. So we're gonna try to get all these new buildings with tons of units to sign up, and hopefully it will be a benefit to the overall community.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. I don't know if you could work it out, but if you could ask any new residents of the buildings to, require them to sign up, go to the website and enroll and show interest. I mean, that would be fantastic if we could get the numbers up and hopefully roll out the program into the district. But just be aware that expansion is on hold for right now.
Yeah.
So hopefully we get back online with that sooner rather than later. But yeah, as of right now, that program is on hold.
Okay, any other sanitation questions for Steve? Okay, well, hearing none, thank you, Stephen,
Thank you very much.
for catching us up on this new law. So this is the last meeting of the year for that housing and land use and economic development meeting committee. Any topics that you guys think we should be covering in the next upcoming September? Please let me know, shoot me an email. And then we can get some further conversations started. And thanks to that committee for being helpful and present. And thank you, Ted, for attending our meeting a lot of times. It was great to see you here.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So can I get a motion to adjourn?
Sandra Erickson, I'll give a motion to adjourn.
I second it.
Nice summer, everyone.
You too.
Happy summer.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
See you in the Grand Concourse.
Yes. See you
All
around.
summer.
Bye, Edgar.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Have a good summer. And but yeah, we still got another one, couple of meetings before the end, right?
Yes.
All right. Have a
Tomorrow.
good one.
I'll see you
Enjoy.
tomorrow.
All right. Man. Bye.